Welcome to Straight to the Point. I'm your host, Representative Joe D'Orsi. In a world of long-windedness, I'm here to deliver you the capital news in 10 minutes or less. So, let's get straight to the point. I'm Representative Joe D'Orsi, and I am joined by Representative, the Honorable Marc Anderson of the 92nd.
Still getting used to that honorable part, but yeah, I guess that's me.
I always laugh when people call me honorable because I never view myself as that honorable. But Marc, thanks for joining. You are a freshman from the 92nd, which is just north of me. It's the seat that Don Kiefer vacated.
Correct, Northern York County, yes.
And you've been in that community, as I've heard, for a long time. Can you tell me about your background?
Yeah, we've lived in the Dillsburg community for about 30 years. I've lived in York County. My roots are in York County, in southern York County, so that goes back 9 or 10 generations. So my wife Cindy and I are very vested in our community in northern York County. So I was a teacher at Northern High School, and we're involved in lots of community organizations. So if you're in Dillsburg, you probably know one of us. So that's my background there.
Okay. So 27 years, am I right about that? You were a school teacher.
That's correct. A school teacher and an administrator for 4 years.
Okay.
Yes.
And your subject was history.
Correct.
So one of the very unique things I know on swearing-in day, your office in celebration was flooded with students.
Correct.
Current and former.
Yes, that's correct.
And I made the announcement, well, who are the students that convinced Mr. Anderson to run? And there was a group that said, we are.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about the calling.
Sure.
And like I said, just to repeat, it's very unique because those students benefited from having Mr. Anderson in their classroom.
Yes.
But the very youngsters that benefited from your instruction urged you to run.
That's correct. We had the way that I got into this, some community members, adults, had mentioned it. I said I'm not interested in it. I'm also the assistant athletic director, so life was really great for me. 6 years away from retirement, and I was talking to my pastor about these people asking, who's also a very good friend of mine, and his words were, hey, maybe we should put the brakes on this. And they got together a prayer team at church just praying for clarification, and on a Friday morning, 4 students came in. I talked to them about it on Thursday, and they laid out the argument as to why I should run. And in honesty, there were some tears with some of them. Like, I remember the very first thing was, we don't want you to leave, Mr. A. And then they proceeded for about a half an hour to tell me why it was important for me to run. And a lot of that was them taking lessons that I had taught them and throwing them back in my face and saying, you said ABC, this is your chance to act on those. And that was it. They wrote me a couple of letters that I carried with me all through the campaign. I still have them in my desk to remind me of why I'm there. So really, as I become a legislator, everything goes back to when I have to make a decision, is it best by those students? And is it in accordance with what they said as to why I'm here?
Well, and our stories are similar in that we loved where we were.
Correct.
But we felt called.
Correct.
Which I think is a great posture to be in. If you're in this role, in my opinion, Marc, you probably agree. And it's all about where can I climb next in the political
Correct.
world, and ambition and things like that. I think you might be in the wrong job, but not
Correct.
Not so much for you.
Yeah, my line as we went through the campaign and still is, I never aspired to this. So I'm not looking to promote my political career. I'm looking to do what's best by those kids in my community.
Yeah. So another unique thing that excites me very much as a member of the Education Committee, which you'll be joining,
Yes.
which is a very nice shot in the arm for us on the Education Committee to have a 27-year school teacher joining us.
Correct.
But you don't find many current or former public school teachers who are warm to the idea of school choice. I introduced a universal school choice bill last session. I'm excited to work with you this session, but
Yes.
kind of walk us through your rationale you're certainly not anti-public school. You were a teacher there.
Absolutely.
But talk to me about options and why you support that.
And I am a believer. I spoke to a school choice group, and I said, some of our messaging and our heart should not be anti-public school. Even with states with school choice, 80%, 85% of the kids in Florida are still going to public school.
Sure.
So I'm not anti-public school. What I am is providing kids and parents the most opportunity possible for them to succeed. Mm-hmm. And so that takes on a lot of different looks for schools or for students in general. Maybe that's a vo-tech track. Maybe that's a performing arts. Maybe that's homeschool. It could be all different kinds of varieties. But I believe this is, number one, a liberty issue, and that parents should be able to make choices for their kids. And honestly, I encourage parents, especially with older kids, let them have a say. Give them a say in what type of education they want. Now, sometimes as parents, we have to guide them in a different direction, but they should have some sort of investment in their own education. So for me, it's all about opportunity. And when it comes to school choice, kids should not be robbed of opportunity because of their address. Mm-hmm. I think that is a major obstacle for some kids, but nor should they be robbed of opportunity because they just don't fit correctly into the sit in a seat, teacher up front, traditional education.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about the freedom for parents to make the choices, for kids to make the choices, but even more importantly than that, opportunity. I want to maximize their opportunities.
Yeah. So you mentioned Florida. There was a study that came out a couple of years ago that showed that as their school choice program matured in Florida, the public school outcomes got
Correct.
better. So, you talk about messaging. That's absolutely correct. So school choice, it appears, is increasing or enhancing outcomes for public school kids
Sure.
too. You also have a newfound flexibility in these universal states for teachers.
Sure.
There's academies springing up. There's private schools that have different specialties. You're actually creating opportunities for public
Sure.
school teachers. So how do you see the session going? I know we've discussed my universal bill. There's also a Lifeline scholarship
Sure.
bill that's out there. Where does your advocacy start?
I think building on the systematic, sometimes we bash teachers and we use numbers within the public school system, and we generalize that here's the state numbers or state data. I'm a big believer in community public schools. I come from a community public school, and there's a lot of people that love their public school and support it. But I'm also see this going to a place, as you said, where everything improves. So whereas this opportunity about students, I'm a believer in competition. I think competition breeds success. And so I don't want the teachers to be restricted by the system. And one of the things that I think I have an advantage in this is I've spent 27 years with teachers in the trenches. And man, we wish we could do this. And that's not just straight shooting. That's not just the school system in and of itself. It's teachers unions. Teachers unions don't represent kids. They don't represent what's best for schools, and often they don't represent what's best for teachers.
Yeah.
So I'd like to give teachers more opportunity to deliver instruction the way that they see best, as opposed to what the system or what the teachers union says is best. And we got to get back to our primary goal: preparing kids for life after school.
Yep.
That's our teaching them how to read, teaching them how to do math, teaching them skills that they can be successful in life. I was just at a farm show this week, and I interviewed an ag teacher. And, that's a non-traditional program, and a lot of schools are losing their ag programs. But he's not just teaching kids to plant crops and to harvest, which they do, but the opportunities that they provide in mechanics and in interviewing. How do you interview for a job? And how do you start your own business? That's the kind of stuff where I see this leading, is that you are tailoring the education to that specific kid.
And a parallel thought that we've discussed is bonuses or raises based on merit for teachers.
Correct.
And we're in the lightning round here, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to touch on that.
Right. Right now, a public school teacher's pay is determined by years of service. Should that be a factor? Sure. It's in private sector and any sector, that's a part of the equation. But right now in the public school system, there is absolutely no incentive for being a better teacher. There are a lot of teachers that are sitting in the school at 5 and 6 o'clock, and they are going over and above doing things outside of what they would call the contracted day. And then there are teachers who do not. And everybody knows at Northern High School, if you ever said, well, that's the contracted day to Mr. Anderson, you were going to get you're going to get a reaction. So, but right now there's just no incentive for being better, unless it's in your heart and in your character to be better. Yep. And so you are in a system where it encourages being mediocre. And that's not good enough for our kids. We should be encouraging teachers to be the best that they possibly can, just like we do with students.
Yeah, so we are our caucus at large, but you and I and some of the other school choice warriors here in the Republican caucus, we're for students, but we're also for teachers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So he is Marc Anderson. To me, he's the Honorable Marc Anderson. To many of the community members in Dillsburg area, he's Mr. A.
Yes, Mr.
Thanks for
A.
joining me,
That's
Marc.
correct. Thank you, Joe.
This has been Straight to the Point. Visit repjod.com/mypodcasts.